How's everyone doing? Today I have a Blu-ray collection update with 5 pickups, and if you've seen any of these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them, and let me know which one of these is your favorite as well. Leave me those comments down below, and 3 of these are 4K Ultra HD releases. First up is Mortal Kombat, and this was visually stunning. I love seeing all the different characters. I remember loving the original Mortal Kombat movie back in the day. The sequel, not so much. But this was awesome to see. It has a bunch of different faults, though. It is not perfect. It's definitely rough around the edges, but the effects, the visuals are all amazing, breathtaking. And I did want to see more of Scorpion. That was like one of my biggest issues. In fact, the first like 8 minutes, the intro of this movie is pretty much the same as Scorpion's Revenge, an animated movie, Mortal Kombat movie. Pretty much spot on, the exact same. But again, the visuals are awesome here. I think everybody knows the storyline of Mortal Kombat. They have to get, Earth's champions to fight against, Outworld. And, this time it's a different take on some of the characters. And a lot of the characters that you're used to seeing may not be in here. Like Johnny Cage really isn't in here at all. You see a picture of him on a poster at the very end. So they're definitely setting this up for a sequel, which I would love to see a sequel for this one. I definitely prefer this artwork over the Steelbook artwork. It has the Steelbook version too. But yeah, the main guy is Cole Young, and he hasn't yet recognized his powers and strength and abilities. So I thought it was really neat to see all the different characters. Raiden, Liu Kang, a bunch of, Jack, Sonya Blade. Kano was definitely my favorite character in this one. He was hilarious and awesome and definitely played that role up and definitely brought some levity to the film. But the visuals are amazing. It's cool to see these characters. I thought it was a fun time. Not perfect by any means. Like I said, rough around the edges for sure. There's a lot of different little issues I had here and there. But still a fun ride, and definitely one I would recommend for fans of Mortal Kombat. And it looks great on home video, just eye-poppingly, amazingly great. I definitely loved the video quality, picture quality was amazing for it. Yeah, 4K Ultra HD. A lot of people still aren't on that train, which blows my friggin' mind. If you are a physical media collector, you want the best possible, picture quality, audio quality. 4K Ultra HD is the way to go. Again, the HDR is a big selling point. And again, they can make older films look great as well. I feel like people don't fully understand that for some reason. But next up is Space Jam. This was, interesting to revisit this after all this time. It's nostalgia factor for sure. It definitely doesn't live up to my memory of it quite as much, but still very entertaining. You see, a bunch of the basketball players in here too. Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Larry Bird briefly, of course, Michael Jordan, Muggsy Bogues, Larry Johnson, Grandmama, which was my favorite basketball player growing up as a kid. I was a big Charlotte Hornets fan with, again, Muggsy Bogues, Del Curry, Alonzo Mourning, even Rex Chapman back in the day. And then, later Glenn Rice, but with Larry Johnson going to New York, and I actually, to the Knicks, I moved to New York, so I became a Knicks fan at that point. And then Charlotte moved to New Orleans, became the Pelicans, and there's no Charlotte team for a bit, and then the Bobcats came. But now, the Hornets, they're back. I digress. But Sean Bradley was in here, and Sean Bradley, really interesting, basketball player character. I think he played for like 12 years, 7'6", and he was drafted number 2 overall. And he didn't play for 2 years. He played in BYU, the Storm and Mormon. He's Mormon. And he left college to be a missionary for 2 years. So he didn't play basketball at all for 2 years, which is mind-blowing, and got picked number 2. And then, he's retired now, but he, in the beginning of the year, he got hit by a car while riding his bike, and he's paralyzed now. He had a neck fusion operation, and he's paraplegic, I believe, and truly sad. But I know he, for a long time, faith has been a huge part of his life and still is. So I'm hoping that will guide him through these tough times. Definitely very tragic to hear. He's always a really nice guy. But yeah, the Monstars, just, seeing all the Looney Tunes characters with the basketball characters. It's still a fun time. I think the colors pop here. Definitely an improvement over the previous Blu-ray release. And I highly prefer this artwork over the Steelbook artwork. Steelbook artwork for this one was kind of disappointing for the 4K Ultra HD Steelbook. There's just a lot of, unused space, and they could have done so much more with it. It was very basic. I like what they were trying to do with the court, but they could have done so much more with it. But definitely a fun time. I still enjoy it. Definitely a lot of nostalgia factor for me. And again, the colors were the biggest thing that I noticed about this release. They look more true to form, and just, more vivid, essentially. But a fun time, and great to see, all the characters, all the, the voices, and just it brings me back to that time period of being a kid. And for me, the best time for the NBA as well. Like, the 80s to, the early 90s, mid 90s, around there. Basketball is much different now. Let me know who your favorite basketball player of all time is, and currently, and who your favorite basketball team is. It's interesting because this is directed by Joe Patica, who I believe only directed 2 movies. Space Jam was one of them, and he did like a lot of documentary shorts and music videos, and a lot of music videos. But he did a great job with this one, directing wise. Again, the visuals, the animation still holds up the test of time there. Next up is Voyagers, which stars Ty Sheridan, and I know he was in Ready Player One. He's been in a bunch of other stuff, but I always think of him as in Mud and Joe. Those are like my 2 favorite performances from him. Colin Farrell, Lily Rose Depp in here, Johnny Depp's daughter. There's a bunch of other recognizable people in here. Fionn Whitehead, and then you've got Bran the Broken from Game of Thrones in here briefly. But this is a really interesting sci-fi thriller action movie. It's basically all these kids are growing up on this spaceship right here, and they're traveling to a new planet. But essentially, all these kids aren't gonna survive it because the trip is gonna take like 80-something years. So it's really about their children, and Colin Farrell is the only adult on this ship, which that right there is a huge flaw. But they're taking this drink, this called the Blue, and that's supposed to kind of like dull their hormones and make them more docile. And in the beginning, they're all just, they're just like kind of like robots essentially, and just kind of going through, the daily routines of everything they have to do. And then eventually somebody comes across the fact that the Blue is not good for them, and dulling their senses and everything, so they stop taking it, and then it becomes essentially like Lord of the Flies in space. That's what I would consider it. Everybody's kind of turning on each other and just making up lies about each other, and violence is ensuing, and all the hormones are going crazy. There's people doing hooking up with one another, and you see the different factions on here, and it just becomes incredibly intense. There's essentially a fight for power, and you can see how crazy it can get. And this is directed by Neil Berger, who also directed the movie Limitless, which was an excellent one. But this is a really nice 4K Ultra HD release from Lionsgate. These 2 were from Warner Brothers, and they sent them over for review purposes. So definitely happy to have that opportunity. Voyagers, though, I really enjoyed the concept, and it was palpable tension in here. Made my blood boil. I feel like if it can anger you and you really want to get involved and hate some of these characters, they're doing a great job, script-wise and then acting-wise with the different characters. I particularly hated a couple of the characters in here so much. They just angered me every time I saw them on the screen. So I feel like they did an excellent job with what they had to work with there, and definitely elevated with the performances. Some good special features here as well. And I will go ahead and show you the special features on the previous 2. But this has a little bit of a hollow foil cover. It's kind of hard. It never really picks up fully on the camera. But there is when it catches the light, there is a bit of a sheen to it. Trust me, it's there. But then the special features on Space Jam, it's just all ported over from the previous Blu-ray. No new special features on here. And they essentially released this to kind of, coincide with Space Jam New Legacy coming out, the new one with LeBron James. And there's the special features on this one, some deleted scenes and things of that nature. It was really interesting to see the featurettes on here too, with the different characters. So, and just breaking down some of the sequences, and I thought there were some really odd, the Jax head slap scene was amazing, probably one of my favorite scenes of the movie. Some really cool scenes in here, and again, to see those characters brought to, especially with a modern one. We've seen in the past, but this to me was most visually stunning take on Mortal Kombat and the characters. Again, the effects were so good in that one. But there's other little things that I feel could have done a little bit better justice for that film overall, but still really good. And if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, definitely a high recommendation. And if you're a fan of like sci-fi thrillers, definitely a high recommendation for this one too, especially, again, dealing with, the tensions, especially of, teens and stuff and the youths right here. Again, like I said, it is, very much palpable tension all throughout. And, Lord of the Flies in space is what I call it. I haven't heard anybody else say that, so I'm coining it right there. Next up, a Guy Ritchie film starring Jason Statham. And I think the best Jason Statham movies are directed by Guy Ritchie. And this is Wrath of Man. This one really surprised the heck out of me. I love the cast in here. Scott Eastwood, a bunch of other recognizable people are involved in this one. Jeffrey Donovan, Josh Hartnett, trying to see who else is in here. Eddie Marsan, but a bunch of recognizable people, and they all did a great job here. This is a tale of vengeance, essentially. Jason Statham here as the lead, and he actually heads a bank robbery kind of crew, targeting armored trucks and stuff like that. And then his crew is essentially like cut off, and another crew takes this big heist where a couple guards are killed and his son is killed. And so he kind of puts himself in the job where he's driving the armored trucks because he believes it's an inside job. So he's working, protecting the trucks and trying to figure out who the person is that was involved and who killed his son and who also shot him. He was able to survive being shot, I think, 6 times, they said. But yeah, really great tension here. Jason Statham did an excellent job. Let me know what your favorite Jason Statham movie is. Let me know what your favorite Guy Ritchie movie is. Again, my answer for both of those, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, for definitely my favorite Jason Statham and Guy Ritchie films. Guy Ritchie actually directed the live-action Aladdin movie recently, and of course he directed the recent Sherlock Holmes movies with Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. But yeah, I don't know. Jason Statham's done a ton of these action movies, kind of by the numbers. He's done Meg, which was a fun one, but just Crank and Transporter, just a ton of different other action movies that weren't quite to the same level. But again, I think he does a great job in action movies. Again, the Fast and the Furious movies, he's in those now too. Hobbs and Shaw was actually a lot of fun. But for me, those ones with Guy Ritchie, Lock, Stock, and then Snatch, just don't compare. Those are by far my favorite. But this one is actually in the mix now. This would probably be like my third favorite Jason Statham and Guy Ritchie movie. I really enjoyed the heck out of this one. This one also had palpable tension. I love the interaction between the different characters. If I'm going to nitpick, there's certain sequences that I felt like could have been edited out. Certain things that could have been streamlined a little bit. They could have talked a little bit more about being cut off from the initial, thing that set everything in motion, the robbery right there. They didn't really delve too in depth about how the original crew wasn't there. Where was the original crew at? Where were they? They were close by. They had to have been able to see the other crew take down the armored truck and the guards and stuff like that, but you didn't see them in that scenario. That was something that needed more of an explanation in my opinion, but I definitely love the grittiness for it. I love Jason Statham in the role, how he was kind of solemn, and then just the violence that came out of there. Definitely some awesome fight sequences and shootouts and things like that, especially the climax was amazing to me. And I enjoyed the whole storyline, especially the ending. The ending was definitely gratifying. So I would definitely recommend this one if you're a fan of action movies. This is released by Warner Brothers and MGM, which recently got purchased by Amazon. I wish this had a 4K Ultra HD release. It does not, at least not yet. Maybe it will in the future. But really good action movie that I would definitely recommend if you're a fan of Jason Statham or Guy Ritchie. Again, a high recommendation here. Warner Brothers sent this one over for review purposes, and definitely very pleased with this viewing. And one of my favorites for the recent action movies and Jason Statham and Guy Ritchie movies now. So again, would definitely recommend the heck out of this one. No special features though, so that is a bit disappointing. But overall, a great release. Picture audio quality as well. But the film itself is the big selling point. Next up is Last Train from Gun Hill. This is part of the Paramount Presents line, number 18, numbered on the spine right there. I really love what Paramount is doing with this Paramount Presents line. Just the packaging, just all the little details put in here. You see the gatefold slipcover with the original poster artwork, the numbering on the spine, the clear cases. There's interior artwork, the special features, the transfer, the films that they're choosing. For the most part, the Haunting remake is one that I felt like didn't fit. There's a digital copy in here as well. And you've got the disc right there and interior artwork, which I'll go ahead and show you. And there's a quote usually in here too, sometimes from the movie, sometimes from people talking about the movie. This one is from Leonard Maltin, who usually talks about the film and the special features on here. And he says, this film is the work of Hollywood professionals, all at the top of their game. And I just like seeing the different shots in there as well from the movie. But another tale of vengeance here, really great Western movie. Love the cast here, directed by John Sturges, who is just an iconic director. Let me know what your favorite John Sturges movie is. Let me know what your favorite Western movie is. Let me know what your favorite Kirk Douglas movie. Let me know your favorite Anthony Quinn movie. But John Sturges directed Great Escape, Magnificent Seven. He's worked a bunch with Steve McQueen and Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas was in Gunfight at OK Corral, also directed by John Sturges, and he also directed Ice Station Zebra, Chino, Joe Kidd, Clint Eastwood. Really enjoy, he's done some sci-fi stuff, but some great westerns here. And this one is basically about Kirk Douglas and Anthony Quinn used to be old friends, and Kirk Douglas is a sheriff, and his wife is assaulted and murdered, and he figures out who is involved, and he goes to Gun Hill, the town there, and the town is essentially pretty much owned by Anthony Quinn, who is a cattle baron, and he pretty much has everybody, including the sheriff, there on his payroll, and it's his son that killed Kirk Douglas's wife, and so he makes it his mission to take his son to justice and bring him in on the last train from Gun Hill. And basically Anthony Quinn and all of his men are trying to stop Kirk Douglas and kill him. And so Kirk Douglas is all alone in this town trying to, fight off everybody and then bring Anthony Quinn's son in for justice for what he did to his wife. His wife was Native American, and they mentioned that a bunch in here. And he does have a little bit of help, from a certain character in here. Played by Carolyn Jones, who most notably she's been in a bunch of stuff, but she was Morticia Addams in the Addams Family. This one was very well acted, some good tension in here. If you're a Western fan, I would definitely recommend the heck out of this one. A very satisfying ending. Good camera work here too. The cinematography was excellent. And I really like the special features, again, with Leonard Maltin, filmmaker focus on Last Train from Gun Hill. He always does an amazing job, very talented. Film critic and historian. I follow him on Instagram even, and his daughter for that matter. Both very well versed in film, and it's interesting to hear especially Leonard Maltin talk. He's got just so much knowledge. And this is remastered from a 6K film transfer from the original VistaVision negative. And just an iconic Western film here. I love this one so friggin' much. I love the actors. I love the director. The storyline is definitely, darker themed with the Western and everything that happens and plays out. And just, I loved both of them, Kirk Douglas and Anthony Quinn, in those roles, going up against each other. They used to be friends, and now what transpired, and just all the different characters. And Carolyn Jones was excellent in that role too. But I would definitely recommend this one for Western fans. And again, let me know what your favorite Western movie is. I'd like to see more horror Westerns because, Bone Tomahawk is one. Burrowers is one that I never hear anybody talk about. Super underrated. There's been a few other ones, but those are like two of the better horror Western movies. But I feel like there should be so many more. It's definitely an untapped market that deserves more films to be made, horror Westerns. So let's see more of that. But those are the top two that come to mind, Bone Tomahawk and then the Burrowers. Definitely check out Burrowers. Ghost Town is another one. There's been a few other ones, actually a couple recently, but those are the best ones to talk about, essentially. But yeah, there you go. Those are the 5 pickups. If you've seen any of them, definitely let me know what you think of them, and let me know which one of these is your favorite. Leave me those comments down below, and I hope everybody's doing well. Take care.